Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to go through mounting this primary arm scope on this Aero Precision mount. And this is really interesting because this is a lightweight mount. This thing weighs about 4 ounces compared to the typical mounts that I have for my variable optics that usually weigh about 8 ounces, right? So this is half the weight. Now this is also a 34 millimeter ring setup. Okay, so this scope is not 30 millimeters; it's 34 millimeters, which actually threw me off because I didn't realize that when I ordered it. So I had to wait like an extra week in order to get to get the scope mount, and that's the reason why I ended up with the Aero Precision because the regular ones that I typically get. Um, are usually about $60. They're 8 ounces. This one was I think like $90, but it's half the weight. So I'm kind of glad that it worked out that way because it'll give me a chance to test this out. Now this is a little bit different because you in the past the way it works is like you had the two halves that mount onto the bottom. This is set up so that the screws go attach at the bottom, and you can see how the top, see how that attaches over there. So that's a very interesting setup. I guess they did this to reduce the weight, um, and the design, right? Because probably not that much of a weight savings, but more of a design savings, because you don't need to thread screws through the top half. So really interesting. Now, I absolutely love the tool that they give you with this. Really handy. It's got this. First of all, it's magnetic, so it actually grabs the screws. And the other thing, it's a star key, and you can spin this real quick. So this is an awesome design. First of all, let me show you the box. So that's the Aero Precision Scope mount. This is the 34 millimeter. They also have, here it is. They also have the a 30 millimeter, which I've added to my cart over at Optics Planet. I just want to test this out for a couple of days before I order a 30 millimeter version of it. So first, let's get these screws out. So see how easy these things just come out when you get that little spinny handle thing. Now I did already go once through this installation, and so I've kind of been through it, so I know kind of what to expect. So that comes off. Let's take these screws out. So you can see how they catch on. So yeah, this is magnetic, so that's really cool. That's a nice. I think all tools should be magnetic like that. It makes working so much easier. Well, that's the thing with the Allen keys. They're such a pain in the ass if you're trying to get the screws out fast. But this is so easy. So love this tool that they give you. See the Troix. You guys are probably seeing this backwards because I have it in selfie mode because I wanted to get the close zoom in. So yeah, you can see how the two halves go like this. So the scope that we're mounting is the primary arms SLX 1 to 10 by 28 second focal plane. Okay, and I'm going to do a full review on this. It's got this really cool vertical. So for a second focal plane scope, you've got a lot of information there. You've got a mil grid. You've got the ability to range somebody based on their height. A lot of good stuff in here. So I look forward to testing out this scope and reviewing it. So as far as mounting this, okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our level to make sure that we are level. And it just so happens that this table as it sits here is pretty level. It favors slightly left, just a tiny bit to the left. Like it's so tiny where if I take a little piece of plastic, right, and I put it underneath it here, it doesn't balance it. It actually throws it off. Actually, do it the other side. So it's so slight. The balance is off by so little. Yeah. See, now it moved too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to try to put anything underneath it. I'm just going to keep it like this, and just know that it favors just ever so slightly a hair to the left. Okay, so let's put, all right, so we're going to be aware of that. All right, so let's put this on. Okay, and what I want to do is I'm going to go right about there, and first let's do this before we even do. Now I already went through this once, so I already got some Loctite on these screws. I'm using this stuff, the Vibratile. This is great. This is way more economical than buying the little Loctite tubes. This is a much better way to go. I'll clean the table later. You buy this big bottle and like you're set for probably your life. Well, given the amount of shooting that I do and the amount of guns that I have, I'll probably get a couple of years out of it. But for most of you guys, you'll probably be set for life. All right, so that's pretty good. You need a whole lot. All right, and basically what I do is I squeeze this in to suck the thing back down. Yeah, that's good. Clean the top off. There you go. There. Okay, great. So let's put you on there. So this, initially when I first took this out of the box, I'm like, these rings look a little bit smaller. Is it even going to fit this? But yeah, when you place them in, they actually stretch a little bit. So it works out just fine. See how it almost, when you press it in, see how it stays in place? So maybe, so they stretch a little bit and they lock into place like that. So let's take this now. So that's going to go like that. Flip it there. So I'm going to pull this back just a little bit. This is a well, actually this scope is not that compact. I was thinking of the other one. I want to try and bring this, there you go. Right there, that's good. Okay, that should be good there. Put you on there. All right, let's drop the screws in. Now, this is just going to be just so that we can initially get this position and then we'll level it off. So give this a fast twist. Get these kind of in there so we can work with it. Keep it there. Put the front one on. Drop you in there. Drop you in there. So basically with this design, you only have 4 screws as opposed to my other mounts where I typically have 8 screws. 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Okay, so that we don't want to make it tight. We just want to just get this thing positioned, basically. Okay, so let's put you there for now. Clean up the Loctite here. It's on the table, so start drying. Okay, good. All right, so we already know that the scope is fairly level here, or rather, the scope mount is fairly level, and we know that we're going to be favoring the left just a little bit. All right, so here's the thing that I found this out earlier. Because of the way that this tightens up from the bottom, right? As you tighten this up over here, it shifts the scope over that way a little bit. So what you gotta do initially with this, right? Since when you tighten this, it's gonna bring the scope down that way. We have to take that into account. Otherwise, we're gonna be working back and forth against ourselves, right? So let's see how that works. So I've got my bubble touching the black line on this side, because from what I saw earlier, when I tighten it, it's just gonna pull it in and it'll center it. There you go. There you go. Bubble's moving. Yeah, there you go. Here, I'll undo that and show it to you guys again. So as I loosen this up, the bubble moves again. Yeah. Actually, I'm not going to try to move this because I take my word for it. No, I went too far. All right, now I got to reduce. I got to, because that time it set it. So again, so turn this a little bit. Yeah, I'm not gonna try it to get fancy with the camera. I'm just showing you guys because should have left it the way it was. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm rotating it. Actually, let me see if I can put you guys down a little bit. Put you straight down. Let's see, you're able to see it. Okay, there you go. There you go. Okay, so you can see the bubble there, right? So right now it is touching the black line. So now as I turn my screws, okay, that bubble is going to start moving towards the center. There you go. See it? It's moving to the center. So the key is you want to start. See now, let's see where we. Remember, I said I want to favor the left a little bit, but now I think I'm a little too far. So what that means is when I undo this, I gotta come on the right side. I gotta touch the bubble. I gotta touch the black line a little bit more. I gotta get a little bit deeper. Okay, this time I want a little deeper. The bubble's a little bit more to the right this time. So this time, let's see, when I start turning the screws, see how the bubble moves. There you go. It looks like it's favoring. Let me turn the rest of the screws. See what happens. It's not exact. Because remember, I need to favor left just a hair. Let's see if I turn the rest of the screws, if it's going to pull it. Yeah. The front ones. Now I'm going to loosen this up a little bit. From what I saw earlier, if I loosen it up and tighten it up, it pulls a little harder to the left. So I'm just going to loosen up a little bit and tighten it up. See if it pulls it. There it goes. It's favoring left now. Okay, so yeah, just by loosening up a little bit, just the way this thing tightens up. Okay, because I got the back one set now. So you want to you don't want to crank down so hard with this that, pull this back up so you guys can see. Okay, so you don't need to crank down so hard on this that you strip the screws. Now, the other thing that you want to do with this, when you tighten up the screws, right, tighten them up, right, then back them out. Tighten them up, back them out. Do that with all of them, because what you're doing is, these, basically you're breaking the screws. You're getting the threads on the screws versus the threading in the holes to mate with each other. They'll tell you the same thing, like if you're mounting a barrel onto into an AR upper, you have to do it like 3 times. Like put it in, back it off, put it in, back it off. So what I'm doing is I'm forcing the threads to break in. This way they don't like loosen up over time, even though I got the Loctite on them. Back up. Okay. Now they tell you I think it's like 15 pounds of torque. I've never actually used the torque thing. I just finger tighten it. Like I'm not gonna put my whole hand on this and crank it. I just finger tighten it like that. Let's see, let's get you under. Yeah, perfect. Centered, favoring slightly left, which matches up to the table. Great, so this is set now. Now, the other thing I want to show you guys, I'm going to bring you a little further over here. This is the upper that this is going to go on. So this is an 18-inch upper 223 Wild from Palmetto State Armory. Let me back you guys up just a little bit. So this is my first 223, so 223 Wild. Everything else has always been like a 5.56 barrel. So here's the thing. The way I'm going to mount this, right? I want to match up the back of the glass, not to the charging handle, but basically to this little U over here in the receiver, right? I have found that that usually gives me the best eye relief. Now, of course, I'm gonna have to test this out, but that's where I have found that these variable scopes come in. That's usually where I gotta mount them. If I bring it further back, then I see shadow. So it's gotta be far enough forward. That's why they make these things, so that you can, the way that they have this extended forward design. So there, nope, gotta go a little bit looser. So we're not just mounting, actually, we're gonna also break this in. I'm gonna show you guys how I do that. All right, so now I have put this where I expect it to. Now I'm not going to tighten the screws up. What I'm doing is I'm playing this thing back and forth. So if there's any like little pieces of metal stuff, basically I'm just getting these two pieces to mate. Now on some scopes there'll be a lot more play. On this there's hardly any play, and I think the reason for that is because of the way they designed it. They got like three of these. There's three of these teeth to catch in three different positions, so there's really little play on this. Let's go back to the spot where I'm marking. So if you got there's hardly any play. If there was more play on this, this would have been even more important. Because there's not that much play on this. This is really academic. I'm just doing this more for demonstration purposes. But I'm also, by doing this, I'm learning that there's very little play on this particular mount. So really good on this mount. All right, so let's do this now. Let's get this off. Let's get the screws out. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on the screws. You there. Do them all at once. There's no spring or anything there. If there was like a spring or something over here, I would Loctite them one at a time. Nothing. Okay, sorry. The camera a little bit more this way. Okay, good. So let's do the same thing we did before. Line up these three screws. Get a little bit of Loctite on this. Normally I'd be a little bit more careful about not getting Loctite on my table, but right now I'm doing this one-handed for the camera. So I'm gonna have to clean the table up afterwards. Okay, so I love these. Love the magnet. Yeah. Love the magnet. I think they put the magnet there just to facilitate doing this one-handed. It's really helpful. There. Drop you in. This is an excellent tool that Aero Precision provides us with. All right. This Loctite off the table. I'll have to use some water later. Okay, so let's not use that on there. So again, we are. Loosen up a little bit. This one's too tight. Okay, so I'm at the spot. Not too forward, that's the spot. All right, so that's the spot right there. So yeah, if it kind of comes in between, you're gonna want to favor like slightly forward. I mean, I have just found that gives you the best eye relief, so that you don't see shadow. Yeah, there's no movement here. There's no wiggle. So there's really this break-in is almost academic. But yeah, you definitely want to apply pressure towards the front, because that's where this thing's gonna want to move under recoil. screws up, and then we'll just give it another. Make sure I'm staying in the camera. There you go. Okay, so now I'm gonna push this forward, because again, that's where this is gonna want to move on the recoil. So we're gonna help it get there. Okay, tighten it up. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna loosen it up, tighten it up, loosen it up, tighten it up, loosen it up, tighten it up, loosen it up, tighten it up. Hoping the threads break in. And this is something that you want to do, like even with your red dots, you know, when you mount it. Loosen it up, tighten it up. Just be careful not to careful not to strip it. Okay, so should be good there. Give it a final squeeze. Again, just using your fingers here. Okay, there you go. And this thing is ready to be zeroed. That's how that looks. So again, that's the Aero Precision 34mm mount. With on top of it, with the scoping, the primary arms S10. It's something that just recently came out. It's the only place I saw it actually available was on Primary Arms website. They had it listed. They did have it listed. Scope. That's good. They did have it listed at Optics Planet, but it hasn't been available. So I went to Primary Arms. You know, one thing that I think they did kind of rush this a little bit to market because the literature was like completely was off. They did say in the literature that this had auto live, which is like basically auto off, auto on, on the reticle, and that's not the case. And I'll be sure to mention that when I do the. So this does not have auto on, auto off in the reticle, despite what they said in the literature, and I confirmed that with Primary Arms twice. Okay, so I'm absolutely sure of that. And then there was a couple other things that were a little coming up short in the instructions that I'll talk about when I do the review on this scope. But that looks pretty good. Time to go outside and zero this sucker in. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you soon.